Traffic Safety, Bikeways and Pedestrian Safety Committee. Have you all had a chance to review the minutes from June? We didn't have a meeting in July. We didn't have a quorum in July. And so have you reviewed the minutes from June? Okay.
I move we accept the minutes from the June 14th meeting.
Second?
Okay, thank you. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor of accepting the minutes, say aye.
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 I wasn't here for that meeting.
Okay. So 3 ayes and 1 abstention. We do have time. We've got some guests in our audience today, Steve and Terry, if I recall. They've got some topics they'd like to talk to us about. Steve, if you can come forward to the front table and tell us what you have on your mind.
Yep.
Stephen J. Willett, 4694 Harcourt Avenue Northeast, Keizer, Oregon. I've been there since 1989. I would like to suggest that parking on both sides of Manbury, where it narrows down at the Eve cul-de-sac, may be a bad idea. In the evening, late afternoon, early evening, both sides of Manbury have cars parked on them. And the clearance for vehicles that are passing between the parked cars is quite narrow, less than 2 feet. I measured it. And it's even less if you have a vehicle plus a truck. Now, my personal experience with the dangers of that system that allows parking on both sides came last week. I was driving west at 25 miles an hour, probably less because there's so many children there. And a pickup truck was driving east at least 50 to 55 miles an hour, which happens quite a bit. Now the truck was merging over into my imaginary lane. And he came on me so fast that I had to swerve suddenly to avoid a head-on collision. Fortunately, I didn't hit the car on the right-hand side, but I missed it only by a few inches. In the evening, and particularly at night, visibility is poor, especially with headlights shining into your car. And I've noticed in the last few months that when 2 vehicles in the evening approach, one of them may hang back and wait for the other to pass through to avoid any possible contact. And I'm seeing that more frequently even during the day. I have no idea what kind of traffic safety policy is involved here. My suspicion is that the apartments only permit 1 parking spot per vehicle, per apartment. So this is an issue that may involve not only traffic safety, but the apartment complex. But I do believe it's worth considering carefully. I would suggest that there is an accident waiting to happen on Manbury. And if it's a direct head-on collision, there are going to be serious consequences. That's the long and the short of it. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you, Steve. I do have a few questions for you. Steve, what are the cross streets on Manbury? Or what part of Manbury are you referring to?
Well, one side of Manbury from the Eve cul-de-sac up to approximately the Cherry Street turnoff is an apartment complex, quite a large apartment complex. And I'm assuming that most of the cars parked on the street are from the apartment. The opposite side of the apartment complex is a mix. There are some houses, single-family houses, and there are some smaller apartments. So there are quite a few apartments along that stretch of Manbrin.
Would the,
And my experience goes back a long time driving that, and it seems like more cars are being parked on both sides of Manbrin in the last 2 or 3 years. I might be right or I might be wrong on that because I haven't actually gone out and tried to measure it over time.
okay, very good. So the suggestion would be to limit parking to just one side? Is that what I'm hearing?
sorry?
Would the suggestion be to limit parking to just one side of the street? Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, if you don't allow, if you're going to have cars parking on both sides of the street, then you're going to have a narrow clearance between vehicular passage. And obviously, I'm suggesting that cars shouldn't be parked on both sides of the street at the narrow stretch of Manbrin. Now, there are various issues involved in that, so I'm simply pointing out the potential danger, and the danger increases at night. Visibility at night's quite poor there.
Manbrin.
Okay, go ahead, Michael.
Are we done?
We've got a few more questions, just to clarify your concern.
So you said the narrow part, is that where you're talking about where it curves? Is that,
I'm sorry.
you said the narrow part of Manbrin, is that where it curves?
Well,
Is that where you're talking-
as you drive towards River Road, Manbrin narrows down considerably, and the narrowing begins at the cul-de-sac called Eve. I don't know if it's Eve Street or Eve Avenue, but it's approximately at that point. And Eve is a cul-de-sac on the left side as you drive in the direction of River Road. And it stays narrow down to approximately the end of the apartment complex on the right side. It widens out as you approach the Cherry Street turnoff. If you drive it tonight or tomorrow, whenever you have time, drive it at night, and you can see the danger of potential accidents because of the poor visibility. So I don't know if that answers your question, but
I was just trying to narrow down exactly where you're talking. I was just trying to narrow down exactly where on Manbrin you were referring
well,
to.
do you know where
I-
Eve? Do you know
yeah,
where
no,
the Eve
yeah.
cul-de-sac is?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, it's approximately from that point down to a little before the Cherry Street turnoff. In that stretch, the concentration, of course, is in front of the apartment complex. I've forgotten the name of that apartment complex, but
Saragossa Apartments.
yeah.
It's in the most-
That's the stretch I'm talking about. And I would recommend you try driving it at night, say 9:30 or 10 or something, just to see what it's like when you have very narrow clearance. And it's especially bad if it's a truck on one side and a passenger vehicle on the other side passing.
No, this, yeah, this,
Just for the record and for everyone here, I did a quick measurement
there's Eve Court.
on Google Earth, and it's about 30 feet wide right there.
I might add that I raised this issue with the police department after my near head-on collision, and they recommended I make a presentation here just to raise my concerns.
Kathy?
If it's where I think it is on Manbrin, there's an apartment complex there that has parking lot in the front that doesn't seem to ever be, I just rode past there, I think, this evening, and the parking lot doesn't appear to be full. So I'm wondering if there's parking for the apartments that isn't being used, or are these people parking who don't live there? Are they? We probably don't know that, but I'm just wondering.
Bit of that.
Pardon?
I can answer a little bit of that. Some of it may be supposition, because I live about a block from there.
Okay.
And a lot of people will park on the street because it is closer to their front door than the parking lot is.
Oh. Well, so it isn't like they don't have another option.
Right.
we know?
Well, I cannot address
Right.
the apartment
Right.
issue because I'm not familiar with their policy. I have been told that they only permit one parking spot per apartment. And if that's the case, then there's an obvious issue about preventing cars parking on both sides of Manbrin in the stretch I'm talking about, the narrow section of the street.
You also mentioned,
That's for the city council and the police department and code enforcement and whoever else might be involved to address.
you also mentioned the lighting on that street might not be up to what we need, or how's the lighting on that, in that area at night?
Light?
How is the lighting on that street at night?
Well, it's not good. And that's why I suggested you drive it at night. Take you about, well, if you drive from here, you can get there in a minute. And you'll find out what the clearance is like and what the light situation is. It's not particularly good. There is a street light there somewhere. I've forgotten where it's located. But I would say the visibility is poor.
Okay, very good. Any other comments? Joe?
Since I do live in that area, I ride and I walk that area quite a bit, and I understand the concern. I personally don't think it is a large issue because the lack of space causes traffic to slow down. If I were to make any suggestion, this would be a good spot where we should say, let's make it 20 miles an hour and see if we can make people do that all the time. I don't know if that'll happen, but I don't think we need to stop the parking. I actually think if there was less street lighting, there would be better visibility at night, but that's, again, kind of a personal
You got those bright lights,
preference.
those bright lights in your eyes, or?
If you have a lot of street lights there, then you don't see oncoming headlights until they're actually in your eyes. If you don't have the street lights, you can see them reflecting off of houses, trees, anything, you know someone's coming.
You know the current speed limit on that street?
I'm not sure.
It's probably 25.
That'd be my guess.
From around the corner is 25. Yeah, I'm not seeing much street lighting at all, actually.
Any other discussion on Mr. Willett's issue? Okay, we have noted it, and we've got a few suggestions. You got us thinking already, so. Okay.
Put it on the agenda for next month.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
We're done then.
Yes, we are.
Both of you?
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. Terry, come on up.
Terry Frazier, 870 Ivy Way, Northeast. And I've got another meeting at 6:30, so I'm going to have to be quick. Let me just say amen to his proposal. I think that is an accident waiting to happen there. We ought to do something there. It's kind of a dance you do, trying to squeeze between the parked cars right there. But at our neighborhood party on Tuesday, I got nominated to come. There was actually supposed to be some others come with me tonight too, but apparently didn't make it. But there's a lot of talk on Ivy. At the west end of Ivy Way, there are a bunch of apartments. There's not access to the apartments from Ivy. There's just a fence there. It's actually a gate that's always open. So there's walking traffic. We get a lot through there. But we also have a lot of people from the apartments parking their cars on Ivy. And I'm like a block and a half out from there, so it doesn't affect me personally. But everybody, the 3 or 4 houses at the west end of Ivy, both sides of Ivy, constantly have cars from the apartments parked in front of their houses, and they're dropping litter, and honestly, they're just been kind of a problem, the people themselves too. But I guess they've been ongoing problems with those people parking there and the residents there. But at the block party, we had a visit from both Councilor Freeman, Kim Freeman, and Police Chief, Chief Teague, and they both recommended that we come and propose that we do a resident parking permit on Ivy, so that only those residents on Ivy could park on that west block in Ivy. It only needs to be, like I say, just the last block there at the west end of Ivy. And I wish some of the others had come tonight. They could tell you specifically what's going on, because it's been an ongoing problem for years, and they've had a lot of personal experiences trying to deal with it, and talking to the people from the apartments, and I really can't give you firsthand, what's going on, but it's been a problem. So that's the proposal, is that we do resident permit parking there.
Okay. Kind of a similar issue, overflow from the apartments, parking on the west end of Ivy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And the proposed solution would be resident parking permits.
Mm-hmm. Yes. That was what the chief suggested, actually.
Do the apartments, do they have stickers on their cars specific for that apartment?
That I don't know. I presume they all have one assigned parking space per apartment. The parking at the apartments is usually pretty full. These may be second cars that some of them own. I don't know.
Mike?
So, did you bring this up at the block party, or have you thought about this, where you would have where the residents would pay for this permit?
Chief said there would be no cost. That's
Okay.
what he told us, so.
Yeah, he could say what he wants.
Say anything, yeah.
But if there was a cost, I suspect, again, it's not reaching clear down to my house, so I'm about a block away, but I suspect they'd be willing to pay for it. Just from, they were all sort of pretty hot about it, so I think they'd be willing to pay if they needed to.
Sounds familiar.
What would you like the traffic committee to do? What we normally do is we discuss issues, and then we make recommendations to city council. Is that where you want us to go with this?
That sounds appropriate to me, yeah, if we.
We
if
decide
this-
that would, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's another item on the agenda next month. Have to go look at it,
All right.
talk to the plan.
I suppose meet up there if you ever wanted to go. Or if they would come back to the,
You would come back to the next meeting that was on the agenda, or?
We could, yeah.
We could just, you could watch it on TV, see
Yeah.
what happens.
Yeah.
Sure. Channel 23, right?
That's correct.
Okay, yeah. All right.
Okay, so any other discussion on this item?
We could go look at it.
So we'll add it to our agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your time, Terry. We're going to move on with our traffic meeting. We've been doing some work on safe routes to school for House Bill 2017. We started off with a whole bunch of project ideas. We narrowed that list down. We finally came up with 2 project ideas that we want to develop further and define clearly. And we have Kennedy Elementary, that area, and the streets in that area. We do have some ideas that we've worked on. And we're also going to work on Cummings Elementary. And there's some that's been talked about a lot for many years at Cummings. And we do have a plan for that. It's not that one is not written up just yet, but it will. The idea on that one's to create a multi-use path on
School now, Cummings?
on Cummings, on Delight, and having it merge right into the field there, if the city has right of way into that field. Okay, so that would be the main portion of the Cummings project. The Kennedy project, we've developed a little more in detail. We've had some work sessions. David and I got together as a work team, and we took the suggestions from, that I had previously written, and then he had written up some ideas, and we combined them together. And so that's what you have in your minutes and the agenda from Debbie. And we've put it onto the template that we're going to be using for when we actually submit this to Safe Routes to School. And it's an action plan is what it's called. What we want to do at Kennedy is to create a 10-foot wide paved multi-use pathway on the south side of May Street from Noren to Verda. There's 6 parts to this. We'd also like a crosswalk across from Noren from the paved multi-use path, which will connect the pathway to the school. Okay. Pave a wide bike lane on the north side of Keizer Road from existing sidewalk to merged sidewalk on Verda. The purpose of that would be to connect to the existing city center. In the notes, it's section 5, and then C under that. 5C is where I'm reading. Install a 3-way stop sign at the corner of Dearborn Ave and Noren Ave Northeast. And then another, add a sidewalk on the north side of Dearborn Ave Northeast, starting at Noren Ave Northeast and heading west for about 250 feet. So we've three of us, Hirsch, David, and myself, we worked on the first work team discussing the projects in Kennedy, mostly. And then David and I met, and we further refined it. So just to, and y'all have maps. There are maps of the Kennedy area in front of you. So maybe those street names make a little more sense if you have a map in front of you.
I
Yeah,
want to make a point.
David.
Okay, the point I want to make is that if we're going to make a single proposal for Safe Routes to School, to ODOT for a Safe Route to School grant, aside, I think they're supposed to help us after we apply in case we screwed up. But anyway, we need to decide which single of all the things we could do, which one's number one to us. So this is what we're really asking for. I had a real problem with that because the solutions to both the problems at Cummings and Kennedy weren't single issue solutions. None of the single things you wanted to do solved all the real problem we're having at those schools. Putting in a path at either school doesn't solve the problem because you've got to do several things to solve the problem, and yet you can only ask for one. And
Well,
that's because the amount of money tells you you're only going to get to ask for one. So that, and then some of the problems are really city problems. They're not necessarily, it's kind of like, well, where's the city's responsibility? And where's the neighborhood's responsibility for the problems? It's more of an issue that I just want to toss out because I think we need to decide whether we're going to do Cummings or Kennedy. Period. One or the other. I don't think you get to put both of them up.
I kind of agree with that, and I think the Cummings issue has been around for so long, and to me, that is one solution. That's one solution of a sidewalk along Delight from Cummings School to Chemawa.
Actually,
that-
it would be a multi-use pathway is the current,
Okay.
the current
multi-use
idea.
pathway.
Yeah, we got it.
Right. But I think we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves because the first step that we need to do, according to the website, is send ODOT a letter of intent. And the letter of intent clearly needs strong support from the school board or the school district. And I'm not sure if we who's following up on that? Because we're not going to get our foot in the door if we don't have the school district behind us, and it's in the transportation system plan, and the city's behind it, and we need to know how much right-of-way, what kind of stuff we need. So I think there's a lot more information gathering we need before we can start engineering the sidewalks and what exactly we want. We've got to get into, once we at least get the letter of intent and they say, yeah, this looks like a good project, they can help us do the engineering and maybe find the best solution, whether it's an 8-foot path or a 10-foot path, and that kind of stuff. But I think if we don't tie down the school district's support for this, we're not going to go forward at all.
You're totally correct.
So I think by getting down to the details of what exactly we want to build, we're getting way ahead of ourselves.
Right.
So I don't know if that's, who's in charge of contacting the school district, or if anyone has.
Well,
And I emailed Becky Gilliam, the Safe Routes School Coordinator, and asked her what exactly are they looking for from the school districts for support, and does she have a sample letter of that, we could say, hey, school principal, in fact, there's a new principal at Cummings, which is not probably a good thing, because we might have to bring her clear up to speed on this. I'm not sure how she feels about sidewalks, but maybe we just go to the school board. So I think we need some help to say, how exactly do we build this support so that our letter of intent is as strong as we can make it? And it's pretty general, other than,
The letter of
the letter of intent, it's just a 2-page
is that
form that's
is
on
that a
the
template
website.
of?
Yeah, the template.
Do we need it,
By,
end of this month,
uh,
August? I think it was August 31st. Was it?
letter of
Maybe not.
intent due by midnight, August 31st.
Yeah,
Right.
so we have to have the school districts at least acknowledge support.
Right.
See, the city of Keizer doing the grant work. The Safe Routes to School grant to ODOT is going to be from the
From
city
the
of
city of
Keizer.
Keizer, right.
So it's the letter of intent from the city of Keizer.
Exactly.
So we need to write the letter, present it to the board somehow. Or
To the
or
city
the
council.
mayor, or the city,
City council, yeah,
city council.
right. And show that it's consistent with the transportation system
Right.
plan, so it has the support of the affected school district.
Yep.
A lot of this stuff it's in 1 mile of the Title I school,
Yeah,
that's
it is
not
a
a
tight
problem.
line.
Have we identified the 20% cash match?
Well,
Oh, that's-
to identify the 20% cash match, you have to identify the project.
Right.
And get it costed out,
Right,
so you
So you
can
need to
determine
do-
the 20%.
But
That's
what did
right.
we decide?
oh, we thought about maybe the school district's donation or contribution of right-of-way, whether that might satisfy the 20% in the Cummings, in the project anyway.
Don't they have in the upcoming school district budget, don't they have something for Cummings about that? A bark path or something, what was it?
Yeah, someone said
Somebody
that,
remember
maybe
that?
so. I haven't
So
looked
anyway,
at
we need
that.
to talk to the school district to find out what
Right.
they plan on doing and when.
Right,
And the other was, I wasn't sure, most of you knew, I went out and re-walked the Kennedy area, which you could do, needs to be done at Cummings anyway, and wrote down every address, every violation in the area and the address, and turned them all in to the.
violation of what?
Grass growing on the sidewalk, trees hanging over, brush, which the school district was the largest offender with the lack of ADA accessible sidewalks, parking cars over the sidewalk so you couldn't walk, you couldn't use it, things like that. So, and gravel out in the bike path and things. They weren't major things, they were all small things. So when the city, at least they made an effort, because I noticed, I went and drove by there the other day, and a lot of the brush has been cut back, and people are going up on the edge of their sidewalks. So our sidewalks, which were down to 3 feet, are now back out to 5 feet wide. So the city made that effort, but I don't know if you can assign a cost to it, but I was just saying, we did make an effort to improve things, but I guess my time doesn't count for now. Anyway, but that's one, and the other is whether or not the city actually does some other stuff, if they put signs up or.
For the match?
Yeah. It depends. Some of the things we asked for don't cost much. So if you're talking about, was it a 20% match? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if it's a $10,000 project, all you need is 2,500.
The project that we're looking at has to be at least 60,000 and no more than 2 million. The entire money for the entire state of Oregon is only 16 million.
Yeah.
Is there someone in the school district that deals with, beyond just maintenance and grounds, but like actual
Facilities?
facilities for,
There's
like ped facilities?
There are facilities manager. I'm not sure. In every school district's a little different. I suppose you start with director of elementary ed, or start with superintendent's office. They'll tell you where to go, and then somebody else will tell you where to go.
Mike, I emailed Hirsch about this too, and he said that Bill was actually in contact with the school, this was the email I got from him today. Bill has been in contact with the school district and also kind of looking at the cost of the Cummings sidewalk. Do you know anything about that?
I'm not sure the cost. I know he's been talking with them, and as far as the involvement with the school granting us right away to be able to build that 10-foot pedestrian path there, but he's still waiting to hear back from them to see where we're at with that. As far as the letter of intent, I know that we discussed that a little bit, and he said there weren't a lot of nuts and bolts to that, and that was something that we'll be able to get out fairly easily. It's basically just putting the project together and saying this is what we're gonna do. So, and definitely adding that piece from Dearborn to Shamawa with that, because that's a real doable thing, and it'll benefit everybody. So.
Okay. So do you think Bill and Hirsch have that under control? Are they working on?
Well, we need to follow up on it.
yeah,
Somebody needs to call him tomorrow.
Yeah, I guess we need to hear from Hirsch.
Are you going out of town again?
I am.
He's gone.
I'm leaving Tuesday. I will be out of town for 10 days.
Okay.
And from this, I'm just curious for what you are proposing to council. Will this be 2 projects, or will this be one? I've heard Dave talk about 1, and I've heard Wayne you talk about 2. So that's why I'm just curious. So Bill knows how to move forward with.
Currently, I'm hoping we can promote 2 projects.
Okay.
And let me explain my reason for that. And you'll probably tell me you don't have money, right? For 2 projects.
Beside the point.
But that's, so we've had, Cummings has been a long-term issue for many, many years, and, it's something that we want to get done. But we also learned that Kennedy is a Title I school. 86% of their students are low-income students. And so we created another project to see if we can do something in that area to help that school or help kids get to school safely. I would like to submit 2 projects to City Council. And then City Council can say if they might have money for both. They may not. Probably not. So where I'm going with this is I would like to submit 2 projects.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to be clear on that.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, 2 separate projects.
Yes.
When I sit and look at it, we got a Safe Routes to School grant opportunity coming up. Everything I read says it's 1, but we can, we have several problems, not only in those 2 schools, but elsewhere. And so it looked to me like we have the Safe Routes of School grant. I don't know if ODOT, occasionally they come up with other grants, but I can't remember. I've applied for them before, but I don't remember why. The option we have, this grant doesn't go into effect till 2020, correct? The one we're talking about?
1920.
2019.
1920 fiscal year.
Deadline's the
Anyway,
By
but we also have all of next year's budget for City of Keizer. So we can contact Mike and Bill and the mayor and everybody, anybody we want, I know who I'm gonna call. Anyway, and we could say, where do we want next year? We want this these are some problems we need to solve, and we'd like them in the next this budget and the year after. And we can ask for that directly to the,
Budget.
budget committee.
That's
Or,
what-
well, whoever when they're preparing the budget committee, which is like in January.
That's what those meetings are for.
Yes. And then we have budget meetings in March, so we can come, all of us, one at a time. We want this done. And we can ask for that at the budget committee.
March or
meetings.
April?
Well, yeah. There's
Don't get us
three
too
of them.
short.
So anyway, so that's an option for, actually, for a lot of money. I mean, you could, theoretically, I remember I was on the budget committee when we asked for a new policeman, we got $170,000, so I think that's what a policeman cost, do you remember? Something like
right
that.
offhand.
It was a lot though, anyway, but I remember when that was asked for and the numbers were pushed around in the budget so that money was made available. Okay, so that's actually a better chance of getting that money than we are of getting the Safe Routes to School grant. And so I was gonna bring that up, and we got lots of time on that, because we got to get it ready and what we need to have in the data to support us, to ask Mike and Bill to get that in the budget. And then, the other thing that has to be done is the long-range transportation plan for the city of Keizer and the Mid-Willamette, or Salem, Keizer, or Mid-Willamette Valley Transportation Plan and all that. We need to change some of the priorities, because I can find little teeny projects, they're scheduled for 2030 instead of 2020. And then we got projects scheduled for 2020, like the big road from Lock Haven up to Wheatland Road, where you change all of that Wheatland intersection, and you know those two big nice fields over there they're gonna be over whatever they're gonna put in there, something, roads.
So these-
So those are options I would think we'd need to look at also.
These are city projects. I think we're trying to focus now on Safe Routes to School projects.
And that's where we should narrow it down to one. But you said two, but I don't know how we can
Well-
apply for two.
Let's say we write up 2 excellent projects,
Okay,
okay? And we do our letter of intent, and we get maps, and we do a really good job, make it look really good. And the city will need to come up with a 20% match of the cost of whatever that project is, or one or both of them, if they can. If we get that approval from the city saying that they can do at least 20%, and that 20% includes pre-engineering, that, for example, Cummings, there has been some planning already done, pre-engineering type planning, that can count as the 20% match. Okay, so if we can get the 20% for Cummings from, for example, pre-planning or pre-engineering, that does qualify as a 20%. That means the city might be able to do a 20% on another project. Don't know the cost of the other project yet.
Can you submit to Safe Routes?
Yes,
Okay. I'm just,
good question.
we have 2 letters of intent then,
Yes.
okay. But we need to get the letters of intent. Okay, so our priority 1 is letters of intent. Who's writing that? The city council, right? So we need
Yeah.
that letter
Right.
first. We need that letter. Okay. Okay. So we need to
I would assume we'd write the letter for the city to review and then edit, if necessary.
Well, I would think if we, in conjunction with Public Works, comes up with a letter of intent and checks off all the boxes we need to, we give that to the city council to yay or nay, and yeah, we can come up with the 20%, and we will want to support this, because it's the city of Salem who would submit the letter of intent. Keizer.
City of
City
Keizer.
of Keizer.
So we need at least a name and number for the school district's person who supports it.
Or a letter.
Or a letter would be
Yeah, I
nice
think-
if they
I think
just
you-
say, we
you can't
support
just-
this
Yeah,
project.
yeah.
Oh, I don't, yeah.
And-
Okay.
and
For Kennedy, we have a name. It's Jesse Leonard.
That's the principal, he's the
Prin-
principal.
School principal. And we also have a gentleman that works at Kennedy and very knowledgeable at Kennedy.
May I suggest something?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chairman. We have Chuck Lee lives in Keizer, and he's our representative. I would suggest getting him involved, Chuck Lee, and Jesse Leonard would be, being that I know the area pretty well, and I've walked it a lot of times too myself. I'm kind of glad somebody's doing something here, although Cummings and Kennedy both are. But I would definitely get Chuck Lee involved, and if you want, you can have him contact me, because, I kind of know a little bit about Kennedy Elementary and stuff. So that would be helpful.
He's on the school board?
He's on the school board, he's our Keizer rep, basically. He's a guy from our area. So I would definitely get him involved.
And we need to
And
get,
Jesse Leonard would be a great contact also. He's a principal there.
hard to get a hold of.
I have his number if you, on both.
So we need to contact the school district, find out who's in charge, and Chuck Lee, and let him know what we're doing.
School board member.
Right, he's the school board member, in case we need him to call, just in case we need him to lean on
No, we
something. To
had
get the letter of intent, and then we need Public Works to
We al-
knock out a letter of intent.
We also
Also.
have another name, Christy Perry, Superintendent of Salem Keizer School District.
Right, she's still,
Do we need her involved, or?
I don't think so.
Well, probably not.
Oh, yeah, I don't think.
Okay.
And this is all next week's workload because
Yes.
next city council is Monday, the
Yes.
20th. So this is, it's right,
So we need to
right
get,
now.
who do you want to go after, school board or the bill? Oh, you're leaving Tuesday, who else?
I'm leaving Tuesday, so I'm not going to be real available. I'm going to be
I'll contact.
in Colorado.
You know any of those people down in the
I know
school district?
Chuck. Yeah,
Why
I
not?
would be happy to follow up on that, and I'll coordinate with Bill Lawyer in case he's already made some contacts, so that we don't have 6 different people going different
To
ways.
get the letter of intent from the
Yeah,
school district.
yeah, get some support from the school district, because I know Chuck, and I'll see who Bill's contacted, and I can find out who's head of facilities if we need to do that. And I don't know if anyone knows the new principal at Cummings or not.
Okay. I wanna make a
We have,
motion.
It's a lady.
Yeah.
we have her name, or I have her name somewhere.
I actually have a meeting with her.
Do we? I might mention this to her. I might mention this to her.
Okay, oh, yeah.
Okay, so Kathy, will you be doing contacts for which school?
I can do for both of them.
For both?
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay,
I'm
thank you.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion
Okay,
that we develop, that the committee develop two proposals for grants through the Safe Routes to School. And those would be Cummings and Kennedy. Period. Okay. And that each of those would just have one major component. That makes sense? Oh, I'm sure it will.
I think it will.
Well, the paths in both cases would. Actually, the rest of the things we suggested for Kennedy didn't cost that much.
Bill Lawyer kind of tossed out a number for the Cummings project, and it would definitely meet the minimum criteria.
But we
It
need
wa-
that
it was a
firmed
big, it was
up.
a pretty big number.
Okay, so
Okay.
is that, now I make that as a motion. Does anybody want a second? I don't care if anybody does.
What was it again?
I just want to make sure that the committee is going to develop 2 safe routes to school grant proposals
I'll second that.
for Cummings and Kennedy.
Okay, we have a motion on the table for 2 projects, and it's been seconded by Kathy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. Okay,
Now
so
we have to do it.
moving forward, we'll submit 2 proposals, one for the Kennedy area and one for the Cummings area with,
Okay.
maybe we should just leave it at that.
Okay, so you're gonna deal with the letters of
I'm
intent.
gonna work
You're
on the
work on the
school
letters,
support.
the 2 letters with
Right.
school support.
Right.
Okay, we need to, we've got a proposal that needs to be refined. So if all of you would read that and look at it, but we need another proposal like that for Cummings, and I don't know how that's gonna come about.
This proposal is on a template, and it's, okay, you could fill it out online. You save a copy of the template, and then you fill it out. And then when we're ready and we've got it totally refined, then we can upload it to, and send it in.
Could you do that?
I know how.
You know, it saves a lot of us a lot of work. Could you do one for Cummings for the multi-use path?
Yes,
And leave it just at that?
yes.
Would that,
But,
could you?
you might want to coordinate with Hirsch, because I think
Yeah.
he's.
Well,
coordinating.
yeah.
Oh, is he doing it?
I've already asked Hirsch to write
Oh, okay.
Cummings. I haven't seen anything yet.
But we need it done by Monday. When you leave, would be nice to have it done before you left.
That's true.
I mean, we.
Okay,
it's an
yes.
editable document, it's not like it's written in.
I do have, I was there on the street walkthrough when at Cummings, and I do have Bill Lawyer's description of the project, and so I'll be happy to write it up. So I'll write up a proposal for Cummings. We've got one for Kennedy, which is,
It
still
needs
still
work.
needs a little work, but it's getting closer.
Can you mail whatever you get, as far as you get, can you get,
Sure.
all right. That, who has to, so the next board meeting's the 20th? So
We do have
if we get Public Works is gonna write the letter of intent,
We need to check and see who's going to do it.
okay?
so there is a bit of a time crunch,
yeah,
to get things
Because
done.
somebody needs to present, I don't know, it seems like one of you guys should present that to the city council.
I could, yeah.
Yeah, I'll come with you if I'm around. Can't remember, my calendar's busy. Okay, I was saying, I'm just looking at timelines, and if we put things off, it won't happen.
Right.
Okay, so, how would, Mike, you know Bill better than I do, how would that best occur?
The letter of intent?
Yeah, should I go sit in his office till he writes it?
No, I think he's already planning on assisting with that.
Okay.
Taking what you all have put together and then just formulating that into something easy enough to send off.
Okay.
So I think that's already in his mind to do.
Okay.
So,
Could
and
you,
he has till the 31st, and I know that's right around the corner.
right, no, but if I have,
To go to council,
if I have to present it to the council on the 20th,
When is the 20th?
next
Oh, my
week.
gosh.
Yeah, 11 days, week from Tuesday, right?
Well, the
No,
18th
wait a
is
minute,
Sunday,
yeah.
then it is Tuesday, next Tuesday.
Yeah, next Tuesday, oh,
Yeah.
a week from Tuesday.
It's a week and a half.
Today's the 9th, Thursday the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th.
Oh, that's right.
14th.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we got a
Well,
week,
ahead of
week
my
of three.
life. I got
Okay,
too much
Mike,
to do, people.
Mike, would you let Bill know, we would, I don't know, the broad we, it'd be nice if this was done so we could present it to the city council on the meeting of August 20th.
the letter of intent.
Yes. And if there's a problem with that, then contact all of us. Send up a red flag.
Okay. My question was, does the letter of intent have to be submitted to council, or just the fact you're sending 2 proposals and the council decides which way you're moving forward, and then once that's chosen, then then it's like, okay, we have the okay for this, and then you just write the letter of intent and mail it off. Is that?
Well, the letter of intent, I don't know, the city council has to send
Okay.
the letter of intent.
Right, but what he's saying is if the letter of intent's for the Safe Routes to School group, which is due the 31st,
Yes.
if on the 20th, all we have to do is get their approval for one or the other, then that still leaves another 11 more days to actually draft the letter.
But they also need to confirm the match.
Yeah.
Right,
Agree to
so
the
we'd have
match,
to have
so we'd
something to
have-
show to them
yeah,
on the
right.
20th, and
So the letter, actually, it's letters, plural of intent, or
Yeah.
letter of intent with two projects or
Got it.
2 letters.
Okay, and then the city will need some time to cost out the project and then determine if they can afford the 20% match.
we have to give them something to cost out. For Cummings, do we have everything nailed down to a degree that we
I
can
know
give
what
them?
Bill Lawyer said, I know what his definition of the Cummings project is, it just hasn't been written up yet, unless Hirsch has done it.
Okay. And now for the Kennedy, though, we don't have,
Kennedy, we have defined it as pretty well.
okay, but do we have, I mean, I wasn't sure if you were saying in that Kennedy thing was all of those, or
No,
one
just
of?
I think if we just go with, my suggestion would be
The main,
multi-use path.
the multi-use path
on Main
is the
Street.
important item.
Okay.
It's listed as priority 1 under
Safe routes.
section
Okay,
5C.
Yeah.
I'm gonna, I think,
This one.
Put a start right out.
Yeah. So.
The other things would be helpful, but maybe not
okay?
required.
Is everybody okay? What do you think, Wayne? We're not gonna let Wayne go on vacation until he.
We gotta go on vacation because we just
Yeah, you do.
gotta go.
Gotta go to Arizona before it cools off.
So yeah, we'll be on vacation, so Kathy, you'll be doing some letters.
You're
I'll be
doing-
writing Cummings definition. We'll,
I'll talk to
David, you're planning on presenting to city council on August 20th?
I
Bill.
can.
Mike and I,
Yeah.
Or Mike? Okay, thank you both.
support. I'll go with him, then we can both sign up, we get more time.
I think that's all I have on safe routes to school. Let's see what else we can talk about today. Next item would be committee member input. Kathy, anything you'd like to add?
I don't think so. I think I already gave all my input.
Yeah, you brought to the attention that we need these letters of intent, and we got to get them to the right people in the right time.
We're gonna,
Okay,
Get the school district support.
okay. David, anything you'd like to add?
Last Saturday, Lake Point Church put on their Serve Fest at Claggett Middle School. And are all of you familiar with that, what that is? Well, they do a heck of a job. They, all year gather clothing and stuff. Like this year, I guess with bikes too. And it's for low-income people. I'm not sure how I don't know if they're even selected or if they walk in off the street. But anyway, they had the gym at the middle school packed with clothing to give to people. And they've contacted people throughout the city of Salem and Keizer, hairdressers, barbers, a dog groomer. This year, the year before, I didn't see the resume writer. The year before, they had somebody helping people write resumes. Bicycle helmets, bike repairs,
Photographer.
yeah, a family yeah, neat. That really nice community service event. So we went, Kathy and I and Hirsch and who else was there? Oh, and Joe was there. Yeah, Joe helped. Anyway, we had they bought $200 worth of helmets from us, which is 40. And Hirsch and I kicked in. We had some others lying around, 9 more, something like that. And so we fit each kid with the helmet, which is important because you don't want a kid wearing the helmet the wrong size, and then he falls and gets hurt, and we'll probably hear about it. So they were all fitted, and took us 45 minutes.
47 helmets,
Yeah,
almost
Wow.
more than a helmet a minute.
yeah. So we fitted all these kids, and the people who came later, we told them we'll see them again in the fire department in September when we have another event.
So you ran out of helmets, you still had people that wanted.
Yeah, we still have people in line when we ran out, yeah. Nice event.
Okay, Joe, you have anything you'd like to add? Okay, Mike, Michael?
Nope.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your willingness to present to City Council. My input, as I've been working on the action plan for Kennedy, trying to define that. And then still want to encourage 2 projects. So we got that going tonight. I do have a little bit more. I received some material from ODOT. Anyone wants one of these
Wow, cool.
in your yard?
On a
We
dead-end
can order one for you. Okay, so I live on River Road North. Thousands of people go by my house. I could put this one in front of my house. What it's about is, it says every intersection is a crosswalk is what we're doing with that. Does TV see that? Okay, we're on TV now? Okay. You got some flyers, the same thing, crosswalk information. I have a whole list of other things from ODOT that are free if we want to get more handouts or brochures, but I'll look at that.
Except for bicycle information. They're
Okay.
out, and they're not gonna have any for a while. They forgot to put it in the budget.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Mike, Public Works, can you tell us what's going on in Public Works?
Only update I have really is the Dearborn Bridge project. As you know, that's still closed there, and things are moving along pretty good. It's going to open up the end of the week, the first week of September. So, barring any unforeseen issues, it'll be back open. So, right now setting up some bunch of styrofoam for some fill. So it's kind of interesting. If you get a chance, you can. So the park's still open, so you can go by and just kind of watch what's going on. It's pretty neat. That's it that I have. It's moving along and should be open soon.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Trevor from Police Liaison?
Nothing really to report. Our 5 guys are out of the academy and they're out on the road with their field training officers. So they're coming along. We've got one that's graduating here soon from the academy. So everything looks to be on board for getting the traffic team up at the end of the year. So we have 2 officers and then we have a sergeant that's going to be taking over that unit.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question for Trevor. Trevor, that's Ridge Road? If you go up Keizer Road, up by the baseball fields, is that called Ridge Road?
Ridge Drive.
Hmm?
Ridge Drive.
Ridge Drive? I was up there, am I wrong that you could park, as long as you get 2 wheels off the road, you can park up there?
No.
Oh, okay, is there because that's sometimes what happens, is that
A lot of times that's what happens.
It gets really crowded on baseball nights. And
Say again?
Well, when they're having their baseball up there, a lot of people were parking up on the road, and I wasn't sure, it looked narrow, like I'm assuming an ambulance could still get in there if they had to, but.
That's a political issue that I am not going to address.
No, I'm not asking you
Don't
an
open that
opinion, I just say, is there a, and I hate to use the word law, but rule that says you can't park on both sides of a narrow road so tightly that you inhibit a fire truck or an ambulance getting to where they need to go?
Well, yes and no. It depends on if it's signed or not. In that particular area, it's signed no parking on the east side of that roadway. I'm not sure, Mike just mentioned bicycle lane. I'm not sure if there's a bicycle lane that traverses that area.
Not really.
If there was, you wouldn't be able to park there as well. That has been a hot topic. Oh, and if there is, then clearly not. If there's not, I know that the signage is there, no parking. That has been a hot topic since I started my career. I played Little League there starting in 1977, which we didn't have the diamonds there at that time, but shortly thereafter, I mean, it's a city park. It's a beautiful complex, and just everybody uses it. So I know that we just had the conversation in the police department not too long ago about that as a peripheral discussion to some others and what we enforce, what we don't enforce, what's been made political and so on and so forth. So in that particular area, technically, it's signed no parking, and if somebody was directed to go up there, they would write probably 30, 40 tickets
Yeah,
every
that wasn't
evening that the
asking
season's
for that,
open.
but I was curious because it seems, Mike, and I don't know what you do with that information, but it seemed, well, there's a city council member, what do you know? It seems to me that with, I was up there the other day walking Keizer Road, and there were no people using the baseball field, but I thought there was more than I expected cars coming along that, and then down Keizer Road to get to Verda, and there wasn't a problem, except if there's a bike lane, I don't think there's a bike lane.
So remember,
But-
you've got that Ridge Drive dumping into McLeod Lane now. So
and
McLeod
so-
Lane comes all the way through
And
there.
I think there's people going that way to get this, I don't know where they're going. Could be going down Verda or wherever. But anyway, there were more cars than I thought. Not a lot, 10, 12, in 15 minutes. But I see that as a potential problem, but it seems to me that the city, in their budgeting process, somebody should fix it.
So
And
at
I
some-
didn't, so I was just wanted to know, is that a fixable problem, Mike?
There's bike lanes on there. I'm just looking down at it. I mean, a bike lane, it has to be, I think it's 5 feet, and if it's under that, it's just a pedestrian
Okay.
walkway. But I mean, you shouldn't be parked, I don't know.
Well, anyway, I'm just bringing it up as a problem. I didn't even write it up as something that was fixable, but it's not safe routes to school because nobody goes.
Just for general knowledge, if there's a bike lane on the road, you can't park on that road, is that correct?
You can't park in the bike lane itself.
To park on
and
either
if-
side of it.
On any bike lane, on any street in Keizer.
Correct.
So we need more bike lanes.
No, I'd like, we need to
There is.
bring that up.
That was a public service announcement.
I have a question. Can people park in the church parking lot right next to it?
So the answer to that is yes, but the church owns that property, and so if on a particular special event, wedding, or something that goes on a Saturday when they have Little Leagues, they do have it posted that their parishioners have first priority at that. Same thing on Sunday if there's a tournament that goes through the weekend. So the police department has fielded calls for service because of the parking issues that are on Ridge Drive, and then also that are in the parking lot there at the church. And now with the with the connection with McLeod, I can't fathom that it will not have to be addressed again because of the more traffic that's going to be using that. As soon as people realize that is now open and a throughway to get past there. Now, I travel that every once in a while myself, and I can't imagine, it's kind of out of the way, and you're really not avoiding a whole heck of a lot.
But there's no traffic on it. So maybe some of the people, I take roads just because nobody else is on it. So maybe some of those people down in the new development buildings.
Do the same thing.
Do
Yeah,
the same
so.
thing.
Any more for your police update?
Say again?
Anything else on your police update?
Nothing else.
Thank you, sir. Can we get a council update, Mr. Herrera?
Yeah,
Councilman Herrera.
Looking over at Trevor over there, the police department, a natural night out. I hadn't been to one of these in a long time, but I want to commend from Chief and Andrew and all the guys. They do an excellent job of organizing that thing. I forgot how cool that was. Not only do they inform as we go out to all these night out events. I think we all go to 4 or 5, Trevor, something like that. And but they inform the folks, they interact with them, and they communicate. And it's just so awesome because you could tell the people have been there year after year. And I like going out there and seeing the kids they used to coach, and just being out there. But the way it's organized through the police department, and I will also add the fire department was out there with all 4 rigs were out there, and I happened to see one when they came over to Newton Park, and they had the hose going on there with the kids. Man, it was just so awesome. But watching the way Keizer does that is it's so cool. And my compliments to our police department and our fire department. Anyway, I'll get that out of the way. But as far as the city goes, it's kind of uneventful. I'm filling in for Marine, so I don't have a whole bunch, but I will say this, we did have a service for Wally Mall a week ago. I don't know if you guys knew him. I know Trevor and Mike did, but you were there, weren't you, Mike? And that was pretty, I made it, but and then I got to see Carol and the girls, but listening to the stories of Wally and the impact he did, not only on our city, but our kids in the sports world. And one of the stories I wish I should have said was that Wally was our boss one time, and he was, during the summer, he would always call us, and in those days we had radios, and we'd either meet up at the North 18 or the South 18. Well, the 18 was 7-Eleven, and he'd buy ice cream for us. Back in the days when it was kind of cool. But Wally will be missed. I got to see him in Vegas a couple times, go down and see him where he worked. But I'll always remember he introduced me to Mike Tyson. Never forget that in Las Vegas. But anyway, we lost him, so that was kind of interesting. And good crowd. My compliments to Officer Inman and Dorothy Deal, is it Deal? Is that how you pronounce it? Who I got to ride out with, and very professional, very fun. It was really cool. So that's pretty much all I have. And again, thank you for Surf Fest, 'cause that's a wonderful event. I participated with that a couple years. In fact, my friends come out and cut hair on that event. But it's also the Keizer way, so we love it. So, and that's all I got. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anything else that we need to bring to the traffic traffic committee attention? Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you.